Pause. Take a break. Reflect on life. Remember, you are strong. You are enough. You are capable. You are blessed. And you are loved. Your moment of greatness starts now.
In this episode, we'll be learning from the triumphant life journey of an author and the owner of a successful trucking business. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very good. Thank you so much. Thank you for making out the time to join me on this episode for a sober conversation. I'm really looking forward to learning so much from you and from your journey. And thank you so much for, being in your truck right now and ready to have a conversation with me. I really appreciate that. That's awesome.
Oh, no problem, man. You know what? I've been through it. All that crap I've been through. I've been there, done it. Yeah. So whatever you want to know or whatever you'd like to talk about, I'm open.
Yes, I would like to learn about everything, basically, from the beginning. Because while preparing for this conversation, I was reading about you a little bit. And I found out that, you come from a bloodline of writers. You are writing. And at a point, you got discouraged because someone criticized your, work. And then, you wrote a lot about, crime and drugs and all of that. But that became your reality in some ways, and that led you to, going to jail, spending time in jail for a while, and then you came out of that, but you picked yourself back up, basically went on different journeys. Also, working in a beer company, which from your wife, for example, and
Yes.
now to starting your own trucking business, and at the same time, writing your books. So I mean, that's really inspiring. But I'd like you to, maybe walk us through this journey yourself, share the story with us, and let us know how it all went down for you.
Well, I will start at the beginning. Years ago, when I was growing up, my family encouraged me to write. My dad was a writer. He wrote music. He wrote screenplays. He wrote books. And those books, the books I read when I was a kid inspired me to write. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And finally I finished my first book.
Right.
It was amazing. I was maybe 12, 14 years old, something like that. And I finished my first book, and my dad didn't want to read it, and he took it to my uncle Saul David. Now, Saul David was he was involved in Logan's Run. He did that movie. He was a producer. He did a lot of movies back in the day. And Saul, we went to his house about a month later, and he sat me down and we had a conversation. And basically, what he told me is my book was no good. He said, he basically told me, man, you got a long ways to go. I can't remember his exact words, but he told me, I got a ways to go. But the one thing I did remember that he told me was I have to paint a picture when I'm writing. And being that I was young and hard-headed and difficult at times, I decided to put my pen down, and I said, well, I'm not going to write anymore. And I ended up going in a different direction. And the direction I chose was the streets. Because growing up, even though I lived a relatively modest life, I think I was in a good area growing up. Down the street from me lived a drug dealer who was a notorious drug dealer. And this guy had a Porsche club. And I'm talking about in the 80s, 90s, he would have 100 Porsches parked up and down the street.
Oh, wow.
And you would look, you're like, what's going on? I remember the first one, you're like, what the heck going on? And he would have these parties, and all his buddies with these Porsches would show up. And, I always wondered, what does he do for a living? So when you get older, you realize, you find out what he was doing, and you say, well, I want to do that. I want to make some money. So I went the wrong way, man, and it ended up costing me in the long run. I ended up, going to jail.
Mm. Yeah, and you spent some time there, and then but you came out, and then you picked yourself back up. You went on the right track. Can you share about that?
Well, I, you know, to be quite honest with you, man, life, I've had my ups and downs, and I'm going to tell you about the last time I was incarcerated. Uh, I was in Pennsylvania. I was doing a lot of the wrong things. I was making money, and I got myself incarcerated. And uh, before, I got arrested. And while I'm waiting to go to trial, or while I'm waiting to be arraigned, I got out of jail and I had to come back in like 7, 8, 10 days, something like that, for my arraignment. And I'm sitting in the courthouse. I'm just sitting there, and I'm sitting the way I'm sitting is kind of behind this door, so I can kind of see everybody coming in, but they can't really see me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Something just told me to do that. So I'm sitting there, and these guys, I see them get out their car outside, and they're giving each other high fives, and they're like, "Hi, man," and I'm like, "Uh-oh." I just know something's going on. So it turns out, when I got arrested, I didn't give my real name. I didn't have a driver's license or anything. I gave him some kind of name. I can't even remember what it was. But I was thinking it's another state. Oh well. So they came in the courthouse, and they came right past me. And I kind of I knew that I saw the joy that they felt. They knew they had me. So I crept right around the door, got out the front of the courthouse, and I was gone.
Wow.
I made it all the way from Pennsylvania back to California. Well, my little daughter was already born, and my daughter, she was sleeping on my chest, and I knew I did not want to be on the run anymore. I was on, I made it back to California in 2-3 days. I took a bus. And when I was there and saw my family, this, that, and the other, we got to talking. And with my daughter and my wife, I said, I don't want this to be the way she sees her father. So I said, I'm going to turn myself in. So we made a deal. We saw a lawyer. He negotiated, and I had to turn myself into LA County Jail. I'm in LA County, and they have 10 days to pick you up. 10 days total. Well, on the 9th day, like the end of the 9th day, I got a call. Greene? I said, God dang it. They came and got me. So, man, I got out. They called me out, and I went with them and flew back to Pennsylvania. And I got maybe 3 years or something like that. And when my daughter came to see me with my girlfriend at the time, and my daughter came to see me, and my girlfriend came to see me, and I remember my daughter looking at me. She looked at me through the bars, and I said, she's never going to see me like this again. I knew then I was done. There was no more crime, and there was no more selling drugs and nothing like that ever again to be, that was going to cross my path. I was done.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Oh,
and I did it, and I did my time, man, and I got out, I went home. And once I got home, I couldn't get a job at McDonald's, man.
Wow.
I was an ex-con, and I couldn't get a job at McDonald's. And I don't wish that on anybody. That will eat at you, man. That will eat at you real tough.
Yeah. So how was it like for transitioning back into the society, after serving your time in jail for 2-3 times? How was it like, coming back, getting your feet back on the ground, looking for a job, trying to fit back into society? How was that like for you?
Well, that was a time, to be quite honest with you, man, you can easily give up because everywhere you turn, nobody wants to hire you. And it was amazing to me it was just how difficult it was. And I got married to my wife at the time, and she held it down for us until I got a job. And I got a job selling AT&T Ideal Systems home alarm systems. I was cold calling people on the phone.
Yeah.
Hey, would you like to buy this alarm? Well, that was one of the worst jobs ever, but I had to do a job.
Mm.
But fortunately, I got a phone call from my now wife. She called me. We were just friends at the time, and she called me, and she was working in the beer business. And she said, Jonathan, listen, there's a job here. The name was Harold Lambo's Beverage. She said, they're hiring right now. They need a lot of people. She said, and on their application, they don't have anything, ex-felon or anything like that. You can get this job. You want to get it? I sure do. So she said, I'm going to have Marty call you. About 5 minutes later, Marty calls me. And he says, hey, Jonathan, my name is Marty, so forth and so on. He's a general manager there at Harold Lambo's. He said, we need some merchandisers. When can you start? I said, well, when do you want me, Marty? He said, well, when can you take a drug test? I said, well, when do you want me to take a drug test? Can you take one today? I said, I sure can. Tell me where to go. And that was my last day there at that place. I went and took my drug test. I went into Marty's office the next day. I was hired, and I started there at Harold Lambo's at the bottom. But you know what? I was in the door. You're in the door. You got a chance. And I ended up taking that job. And maybe 8 months later, I was hired by a guy named Steve McQueen, under Steve McQueen, for a company called St. Ides Malt Liquor. And St. Ides Malt Liquor, Mackenzie River was the name of the company. We did, my territory was Southern California, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. They gave me a car per diem. They gave me all this stuff. And it was unbelievable how fast I got there. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was taking care of my family. I was making great money. But it was all because when I was out there doing that merchandising, I wasn't going home at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I was going home at 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. All the time when I was out early in the morning, I'd be at a place sometimes as early as 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. But hell, what else you going to do? I got to make this money. I got my mouths to feed. I'm given an opportunity. I'm going to make the best of it.
Of course.
So that's just what I did.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, from that, previous job experience, you were able to work hard in the new experiences, and that opened more opportunities for you. I mean, that's something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Jonathan, if you look at your life right now and you reflect back on how far you've come, from being that 12-year-old kid, being incarcerated, coming back out, and working different jobs, and being the successful owner of a trucking business right now, what would you say what would you say what would you say are some of the lessons that you've learned or gained through these experiences?
Well, one thing I've learned, you got to go with your gut in life.
Hey.
You get a gut feeling. Like when she called me, something told me, man, you need to do this. And that turned out to be one of the positive things in my life. It was a turning point in my life. When my daughter came to visit me and I saw her in jail, I'm looking at my 1-year-old daughter behind bars. She's looking back at me. I knew that in my gut, I'm not coming back here. And it wasn't a question. It wasn't, my gut told, I'm just not ever going to come back here. It was an instantaneous thing. I knew I wasn't going to get in trouble again like this.
Yeah.
Then along the way, there was an experience I had in years ago in California. I had a guy set me up by the police, and I'm supposed to meet him and do a deal. And something told me, my gut told me something's not right. So I took the stuff I had, dropped it off somewhere, and went to meet him. And so I'm sitting there waiting for him. He doesn't show up. So finally I pull out, and you have, you ever see that thing, bad boys, what you gonna do?
Yeah,
there used to be a show in California called Cops. And these guys, I'm at the corner, a van pulls up in front of me, a van pulls up beside me, the door's open, and they got the guns drawn on me. And I'm like, uh-oh. And I actually saw these cops on Cops before.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So they pulled me out, they handcuffed me, zip tied my hands, throw me in the back of the van. They jump in the other van. They jump in the car, and we pull over to another location. And I think we're behind a bank or something. And they start going through the car, and they said, "Tell me where the stuff is. Tell me where the stuff is." And I said, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you." And they kept on asking, kept on asking, kept on asking. I don't know what you're talking about. Finally, they had to let me go.
Yeah.
I didn't have nothing on me. Didn't have no. They had to let me go, and they let me go. But my gut told me something wasn't right, so I stopped somewhere, put that somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
and luckily, fortunately, there was a reason why I did that. I call it fate, call it gut. I don't know, but luckily, I mean, if I would have been caught with that, I might still be in jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but there's something about going with your gut sometimes that intuitively we need to take advantage of. We need to do.
Yeah.
Because when you go with your gut, a lot of times it can keep you out of trouble. Bottom line.
Are you enjoying this episode? Kindly subscribe, share, and leave a review. Thank you.
That's very true. Yeah, it's always good to tune into our intuition and also listen to the inner voices, believe in God also, and just like follow the leading that is be given to us. I love that.
Yes,
I really love that.
Yes.
Yeah. So Jonathan, for someone out there who is right now looking at rebuilding his or her life because he or she has maybe gone through some addictions or gone through prison or serve some time in prison, for example, and persons like at a point of, oh, what can I do to become successful like Jonathan? What kind of mindset does that kind of person need, and what does that person have to do right now in order to become successful again in life?
Well, you need to, first off, you have to have a belief in yourself. You have to have some kind of you have to have a why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Or why are you going to do what you're going to do? My why was my family. My why was I didn't want to be a failure. My why was I never wanted my kids to see me as a failure. Then once you have your why, you have to have a determination about you. You have to have, I don't know if it's within wherever you want to say it. It starts from, but I've always had some kind of determination about me. I never wanted to fail. And I'm very competitive. Let's just say that.
Okay,
I don't like losing.
Yes.
So, let's face it, you're going to lose sometime in life, but I don't like losing. Let's just put it like that. But you got to think, I have made money. I have lost money. I've been broke. And it took me a while to realize that making money and keeping money is two different things. Because you can make a lot of money. There was times in my life I made a ton of money, and I have been broke a few times in my life. This last time I was broke, I finally said, you know what? I got to change some things. And you got to realize that. You got to realize, man, look, life changes, you're going to have to change along with it. So I had to change some of my habits. And if you get in those habits of doing the right thing, if you get in the habit of being successful, if you get in the habit of doing some things that are right constantly, those habits increase. And so, it can reflect in the habits that you have. It can reflect in the money that you save. It can reflect in your pockets financially, how you change. And so I had to change. And I would tell everybody else, you can change. You just have to put in the work. And, I read, I remember The Millionaire Next Door, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. There's a lot of books out there you can read that can change your mindset, that can change your, that can affect your habits. There's a lot of things you could do that are positive in your life, and also get some people who are positive in your life. I have a mentor. I've known him for like 10 years, and I listen to his coffee call every Friday practically, I've been listening to that for maybe 10 years now, 12 years.
Mm.
But, I found him when I was in another situation when I was broke. I was complacent, and it took some time for me to start listening and paying attention and listen to somebody who's doing it. So it took me some time to for a lot of that stuff to absorb in, but I had to change. And then once I got back in,
Mm.
I think life is about rhythm, man. Once you get in that right rhythm, it's just like in
Yeah.
trucking. When you have a few weeks when you're making great money, you don't want to stop. You're like, man, I don't want to stop. And once you get in good habits in life, when you're saving that money and you put it where it needs to be, and you don't, if something happens to you, you don't worry about it. You're not really worried because you have the money to take care of whatever problem occurs. That's different than living paycheck to paycheck. That's a different mindset than living, what am I going to eat next week? So that's what I would recommend your people get that determination, find out what their why is, and get to doing it. And probably find a mentor as well.
Oh yeah, that's very important. Finding a mentor. Like, first of all, knowing your purpose in life, find out what you are born to be, to do. And then
Yes.
you made mention of something that really stood out to me. And that's about change. Learning how to embrace changes in your life.
Yeah.
Learning how to embrace the
Yes.
changes that come across your
Yes.
life and accepting them, adjusting to the different changes, modifying your life to those changes is very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
What do you think about this episode? Could you share your honest review with us? Details are in the show note for this episode. Thank you.
Actually, I didn't start doing these. I wasn't thinking about doing these kind of podcasts and getting being behind the camera and so forth and so on. I wasn't thinking about this until Victoria Greene. She when we talked about I was going to promote my book, and I hired her as a podcast. She books podcasts for me, and I hired her company. And once she has a lady that I talked to early on, and she said, "You know what? You have a story to tell, and people can benefit from listening to your story." And she, because this isn't, I wanted to be a writer and just write. But, once she told me I had a story to tell, and once people started telling me they saw my story, and especially when my daughter told me she cried. She listened to one of my interviews and she said she cried. It really hit me that I guess I can affect people in a positive way. I can do some giving back somehow. Maybe if my story helps one person, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
So maybe this is my purpose. Maybe I found my purpose in life has been to always treat people the right way. I wish I could change the world in the right way. But if I can start affecting the world in a positive way, maybe that's enough. And maybe if I can affect people's lives in a positive way, maybe that just one person to make them think they can do what they need to do, then that's a good day.
Yeah. I believe that. I believe that totally.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're doing a great job, with the conversations that you've been having with people and your books also, which we'll talk about also very soon. We'll talk about the books you've written. Well, I'd like to know, as an author that you are, and also you're actively on the road also all the time.
Yes.
How do you successfully combine both? Being an author and a successful trucking business owner?
Well, let me tell you what I do. I am currently writing my 5th book right now. I have just put out my 2nd book. Now I do that because my wife is very organized. So she just tells me to keep on writing. So I keep on writing at night. When I'm done with my day, I will park, I'll turn on my computer, and I'll start writing.
Yeah.
And a lot of my ideas I get during the day. I'll just get a little idea and I'll write it down. I'll get another little idea and write it down. Then at night, I expound on those ideas. Now, I might write a paragraph. I might write 2 or 3 pages. But generally it takes me 4 pages of text to write one good page of text. So if I write 400 pages, that 400 pages is going to be whittled down to about 100 pages because, it's gotta work. It's got to sound good. It's got to have a flow to it. If it doesn't, I'm painting a picture like my Uncle Saul David told me to do. That's the one thing he told me to do years ago is paint a picture. So when I write, I try to paint a picture. I see a scene like a movie scene and I try to paint that picture on different angles, so forth and so on. So that I find the time at night to write. So there's no excuses. All these people with all these excuses. I don't need excuse. I'm good. I'm all right at night.
Yeah.
And I do it almost every night.
Oh, that's good. That's being consistent. That's something wonderful.
Yes.
That's something to emulate. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
awesome.
I agree with you completely. That's how you got to be in life. Got to find that consistency.
Yeah, I believe that. But do you face any kind of challenges as a writer? For example, maybe when you're trying to develop some ideas or come up with some plot, do you face any kind of challenges as a writer?
Man, I have come up with a plot line. I've come up with lines, this, that, and the other, because every book's different. And you'll write 10 pages and you'll get to a spot and you say, this just doesn't work. And you'll erase the whole thing. It's just is what it is, man. It's just, that's how it works. If you find something that you're not, that just isn't, you're not feeling it, and you keep on forcing it, that's not the way to do it. For me, maybe other people it works for them, but for me, it's not. It's just not the way it works. And like when I finished my first book, I finished it my wife told me don't touch it, and we let an editor look at it. And my editor actually called me. She called me like 2 or 3 times. She said, "You wrote this?" I said, "Yeah, I wrote it." Yeah. And then she called me a few days. "You really wrote this?" "Yes, I wrote it," because she enjoyed the book. She enjoyed, and once you get that feeling, you're like, "Wow, okay," and it makes you feel good. And when people start believing in you, it makes you feel good. When people believe in you, who's not your kids, who's not your wife, and somebody else believes in you, it gives you a belief, an added belief that you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That gives you like a very good feeling, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I would just like to know, like, yeah, you've written, you're writing your 5th book right now. I'm
Yes.
very curious to know what the books are about, but I also want to know, like, how are there like some principles that you apply to your life? I know, for example, time management is very key in what I've been in so far.
Yes.
Being consistent, being accountable is also something that is very important. But are there like some principles that you apply to your book writing career, to your business as a truck driver or a truck business owner, that makes you successful in every area of your life?
Well, one very important principle to me is completing something. When you start it, you got to finish. It's easy everybody can start something. Everybody in the world can start something. We can all start stuff, but bringing it to fruition takes a lot more. It's going to take some commitment.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that commitment, don't even start it. So it's just like when I have a load that I booked in the trucking business. I have like a 99% on time delivery because I'm going to get there. It's just that's what I do. Just like in my books, I'm going to finish my books. That's what I do. I'm going to start writing. Once I start writing it, I'm going to take it to the end. Now, it might take longer, it might take shorter. It all depends on the book. But and when that book ends, it ends. When it's done, it's done. I'm on to the next one. But you have to have a sense about you to complete what I think it goes back to maybe work ethic. When you start something, you finish it. Just like when I was in the beer business years ago, when I started something, all my people that I dealt with, I'd always give them a call and check on them, make sure they got their deliveries on time, or make sure this was done, or make sure that was done. Or did let's say I had a display that was supposed to go up. Did the merchandiser get there? Did he set everything up? And if he didn't, I'm calling that guy, hey, man, you need to get over there and do this. That's just the way it is. Because when you only have your word in this life. So it goes back to your word. If you're going to start something, finish it. If you're going to, if you tell somebody you're going to be somewhere, be there.
Yeah, that's true. Be accountable. Finish what you start. Like every journey of life, right? If you start your car at a particular point, you're going to point B. You should get to the point B successfully. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about your books generally? Like, what can we know about the first 2 books that have been released right now?
Okay, the first 2 books are completely different. In 2021, I released a book called Laredo Nuevo, The Rise of Acosta. That's a book about a sicario in Mexico, and the what are they called? The Mexican cartels and drugs and killings and murders, and how they've affected America and truck drivers in America, how they've got involved with a lot of these cartels, and how they, frankly, got the wrong end of the stick. That was the first book. I won't go too much into that one, because that's a character named Ernesto Acosta. The second book I just released on January 27th is called Paladin, Briscoe Duvall's Defender of House LaFleur. Now, this book has to do with a lot of voodoo, a lot of mystery, a lot of what would we say? It's down in New Orleans. It's set down in New Orleans, and Briscoe Duvall's is a character who's a billionaire who has recently lost his wife. Now, when he lost his wife, he was a alcoholic. He was a womanizer. He was a drug addict. He was doing all the wrong stuff in life. And when he lost his wife, it changed him completely. He decided to change his life. He decided to go after, he was going to do some good in this world. And he decided to start, helping people out. But all these people are rich. Everybody, when he goes after somebody who killed somebody, they're generally rich, because he wants them to help out somebody else. He wants them to start a fund for a kid or something like that, or support some charities or something. He wants them to give back, but that is his forte. He is good at finding out, hey, man, somebody got killed. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. That's what he does. He's good at it. And he has billions at his disposal to do these things. Yeah. And he doesn't have the auspices of the law that he has to abide by to get some things done.
Oh, nice. That sounds very lovely. The link to your to all of these books information will be in the show notes of this episode. I'll place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage anyone who is interested in reading these books and looking deeper into them, should click on the link and get a book on Amazon or any other platform that the book is available on. That'll be awesome.
Yes, it's available on Amazon. You can follow us on Instagram, on TikTok. On TikTok, we're JW Perkins Group. On Instagram, we're Devon _and _Greene. We even have on our website, Devon and Greene, you can even get a first chapter of our book for free.
Yeah.
The people who are listening to your broadcast today can get a book, can get the first chapter for free. If they like the book, they can even purchase the book after that. If they don't like it, hey, you know what? Thank you for the read. That's all we can ask, for the opportunity.
Of course. I believe everyone would love it, will enjoy the book. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. I really enjoy, learning from your life story, your life journey, and all the experiences that you've had, and the lessons that you learned from that. That's something I'm going to take home with this. Being accountable, finish what you complete. Finish what you start, and just be consistent. I love that. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem, man. Hey, it was my pleasure, man.
Wow, you made it to the very end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm grateful for your time, your love, and your contributions. Subscribe, like, review, and share this podcast. God bless you. Bye.